Welcome back to Continental Club Xtra, where we show Premier League fans what they're missing out on. Dougie Critchley not here today. I think he's being a hero, giving some blood this morning. So I'm joined by the equally worthy, if not more worthy, Henry Hill.
Yes.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Very well, thank you. I mean, yeah, hero on your T-shirt too. Vote
Absolutely.
for Rashford. Not sure if you can see that. But yeah, no, I'm very well and I'm excited to do what I feel like is almost a semi-annual breakdown of PSG, their forward line, and yeah, try and figure all of that out, because every year we seem to be in this situation. We're trying to piece together what PSG do next, and as it turns out, there is a bit of drama once more brewing at the Parc des Princes.
Yeah, not really overly surprising, is it? They do tend to, give us content, don't they, PSG? And yeah, today specifically, we're going to be talking about Neymar and a little bit about Messi as well, and the possibility of them having to be replaced this summer. This comes after reports by Duncan Castles in The Times that claims that PSG are looking to trim 30% of their wage bill this summer. Their wage bill is huge. This comes after news in January that the club currently spends €728 million a year on player salaries. That is by far the biggest wage bill in world football. Real Madrid are second, all the way down on €519 million.
That's crazy.
Man City's, for context, is €418 million. This saw the club fined €10 million by UEFA back in September. They may also have to pay a further €55 million, depending on whether they can meet kind of the future targets that have been set for them in this regard. And obviously, Neymar and Messi both on huge wages, aren't they? I think Neymar's on €35 million per year after tax. So Henry, what have you made of Neymar this season? Do you think this is the right time for him to leave?
I actually think it'll be easier to sell him now, because I remember there was a point where in the summer when there was a lot of drama about whether or not any club would come in for him. The wages, as you've just pointed out, huge. Sometimes the drama that comes with him. I actually think this season he stepped up and shown what an amazing footballer he is once more. 13 goals and 11 assists in just over 1,500 minutes of league football. So such a shame to see him injured again. He's historically been one of the most foul players, certainly of our generation, and that is just taking a toll on his body. And I do think that if a club is desperate for a world-class number 9, someone like Chelsea, then Neymar would be a viable option right now, because he quite clearly knows what he's doing. But I mean, what a shock that this front three is encountering a bit more drama. And we saw Mbappe wanting to move Neymar on in the summer, reportedly, and we've heard rumours that there were arguments between Marquinhos and Neymar in the dressing room at PSG recently. And then Luis Campos, I was reading, apparently the PSG sort of sporting director, he's fed up. They're getting fed up with the three of them and the egos involved. It looks like Mbappe is going to be the figurehead going forward. No surprises there. Maybe the best player in the world at this point in time. So yeah, if there is a time to move on the rest of that forward line, I reckon it's this summer. And I think Neymar, after everything he's done, would maybe be open to it too.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Chelsea there. Le Parisien reported, the other week that Todd Boehly was in Paris to supposedly discuss Neymar's future with Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the PSG president, ahead of their Champions League clash with Bayern Munich. But then at the same time, there are other reports that say they don't want to sell and that the player wants to stay. We've seen this so many times before with Neymar, haven't we? But if they need to trim those wages, then selling, moving on Neymar and potentially Messi as well, whose contract is up in the summer, two ageing stars who are on hugely inflated wage packets, that is, if that's their imperative for them, then it could,
If you were Messi, would you go back to Barcelona or would you stay for another season at PSG? What would you be doing if you're looking at that contract situation?
I'm not sure. I mean, if Barcelona, if Messi is willing to, earn next to nothing at Barcelona, then so be it. But I just don't know whether that's in his thinking. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly easier from a Messi perspective to move on. Neymar still has a contract up in 2025. I think the player himself has an option to extend that by a further year. But let's get into possible replacements, right? Because there's been quite a lot of talk, in particular about this first guy, who is enjoying another excellent season in Italy, despite his team, dropping off a little bit this year. Rafael Leão at AC Milan. you know, he's one of the biggest names, you know, being linked with, you know, a move this summer. What do you make of him? Do you think he would be a good fit at PSG?
I do. I actually think he would be perfect. What we saw in January was that they were looking for more width. That's why they were going in for Ziyech. They wanted that ability to maybe spread the play a bit wider at times, because they've got a lot of good midfielders going down the middle, but they don't necessarily always have that width and the ability to sort of mix up their attack, certainly against teams like Bayern Munich, etc., who can maybe mix it up against them a bit more. And yeah, Leão does offer you that, because he's dangerously quick, isn't he, when he gets going, and he's powerful, and he can play centre forward as well if they needed to move him into the middle. I mean, 11 goals and 8 assists on the left last term, 8 goals and 6 assists so far this season. AC Milan playing a lot better recently. Look back to their best. Leão back in the side. Or what do you know? That seems to be helping out the situation. But yeah, 3.5 shots per 90. He's a beast, isn't he? 2.3 successful dribbles per 90. That's 44% success rate. It's not amazing in itself, but stern opposition in Serie A. It's just to see how much he's blossomed in the past few seasons is remarkable, because it did feel like he was nearly there for a long period of time, and now you're right, he's arrived in the elite category. And what's interesting is his contract negotiations at AC Milan aren't going necessarily as the Rossoneri would maybe be hoping for. There's lots of talk that he wants, about 7.5 million euros per season to stay. That would be fine for PSG,
easy, and
undercut what they're paying already. So they could definitely make it happen. And I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen sort of Donnarumma made that move before, so the clubs do have sort of a line of communication there. I wouldn't be surprised if Leão maybe followed suit, but I mean, I still think he wants to stay at AC Milan. It just really depends. If there's lots of talk that he's going to have to pay Sporting a certain settlement after to do with when he left the club under sort of strenuous circumstances. So if PSG have the financial might to help him sort of get through that, if they can offer him a package and show him a project which looks like they're going to consistently win, which you're never quite sure of AC Milan at the moment because Serie A is so volatile, then yeah, I definitely think he would be a very fascinating prospect for the French side.
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. And I think those contract negotiations, you know, contract up in 2024 as things stand, you know, I think they will largely just dictate how much Milan are able to demand for him. You know, he's valued at 70 million euros by the Football Observatory, 85 million by Transfermarkt. With 1 year left on his contract, I would imagine Milan would struggle to get a fee like that for him. If they were to tie him down to a new deal, who knows, 100 million kind of player, isn't he, in this market? Let's move on to our next suggestion. Also sticking in Italy, player who would probably take more money to get out of his current club than Rafael Leão, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia, who's obviously been a sensation since moving to Napoli last summer. 10 goals and 9 assists in Serie A so far this term. And yeah, I mean, we talk about Leao's numbers. Kvicha's numbers are just outrageous. 3.8 shots per 90 from the left wing. That's ranks him in the top 2% of wingers. 0.69 expected goals and assists per 90. That ranks him in the top 4%. 7.4 touches in the area. 4.9 progressive carries. These are all completely elite numbers. And, you know, his partnership with Victor Osimhen, if you could call it that, has just, you know, blossomed instantly, hasn't it? He's provided he's provided 6 assists out of Osimhen's 19 league goals. That's the most prolific combo in Italy. And you just have to look at his market value now compared to last summer, when I think it was just 15 million when he joined Napoli. They paid less than that for him. And he's now valued at 60 million euros. I mean, given how hard players are to get out of Napoli, I think it would take at least 100 million, especially this summer. I think it might be a step too far. I don't think PSG would be able to get him out personally unless they were to offer really crazy money. And it doesn't seem like he's there, you know, he's really in there thinking that much. But for a left-sided player who can bring something different to that attack, Henry, could you imagine it?
I mean, I love this guy. No, I don't think this is going to happen this summer at all. I think Osimhen leaving is more likely. He's sort of done his time in the sense that he's been there, 3 years now at the club. And yeah, Kvaratskhelia has only been there a single season. He's due a big pay rise at Napoli, that's for sure. But yeah, I think if I was Aurelio De Laurentiis, I would not be sanctioning 2 massive departures this summer, if any, because this Napoli side is very exciting, and I think there's no rush to move him on. So I agree with you. I think Ousmane Dembélé is more likely our next suggestion.
Okay. Yeah.
If Barcelona's financial turmoil continues to be in such a state, then although I do think that he's once again proven he's head and shoulders above some of the wide options at Barcelona, I do think that if PSG waggled a bit of money in their faces at a good value, I think you maybe could get Ousmane Dembélé. He's been great recently. So the injuries are a bit less, but his contract does expire in 2024. So if it doesn't look like he wants to stick around at the project, obviously it took such a drama just to get to the point of him staying.
I know.
I remember writing about that. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if he finally decides, maybe a homecoming back to France, that could be one. But I mean, what's interesting for me is it really depends what direction they want to take this. Because with Luis Campos, he's always shown that he's quite a progressive thinker when it comes to the transfer market. We saw that with the signings they were making in the summer. Carlos Soler, Fabian Ruiz, Renato Sanchez in the midfield. This shows that they want to build towards trying to build a team for the future, and that maybe makes me wonder if they're going to go in for perhaps some lesser known names to rebuild that forward line, because if you've got Mbappe, you've still got that spearhead at the front. So you've put some great suggestions down. Rasmus Højlund, Randall Colomwani, who's already becoming sort of a massive name in world football. Chiesa, okay, also a big name, but haven't seen him so much this season. Are Juventus going to be in a tricky situation? Would they go for him? And maybe make Mbappe this spearhead and bring in these younger guys around him to sort of push him up. I mean, where would you be going if you were this PSG product? Would you be sticking with the world-class players, or would you be going in for guys like Højlund, who I know you're a huge fan of?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends, doesn't it? I think also it's not even necessarily just about, how much players cost, their kind of profile on the world stage. It also depends what kind of attack PSG want to build, right? Kylian Mbappe has been, very vocal about, the kind of players he wants to play with. He wants a kind of Olivier Giroud kind of figure to play off in attack. And, in that sense, maybe a central striker is something that they will go for this summer. Someone like Vlahovic, who's obviously incredibly physical. Rasmus Højlund, very young, but also, has already shown that he's an incredibly physical striker. Marcus Thuram, someone, who can play on the left and through the centre as well. Like you were saying, Mwani, a centre forward. So I mean, first of all, it depends whether, Neymar and Messi are going to leave and they need to replace 2 players. Second of all, it depends whether, we're going to see Mbappe still stay as that centre forward, or whether he's going to get his wish and he's going to play a little bit wider and have another figurehead in that attack. But what do you guys make of this at home? Do you see Neymar and or Messi leaving PSG in the summer? And who would you like to see them replaced with? What were you going to say?
If you had two names, if you could pick 2 names, who would it be?
Oof. I think
I go Leão and Colomwani. That would be my two.
I think
replacements.
I think Leão as well. I'll go Leão and Vlahovic. I'm going to go for Leão and Vlahovic. There you go. But let us know your suggestions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to EFD if you haven't done so already. And why not check out, Stat Wars from the weekend. I think it was myself versus Henry, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A classic episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for joining me this morning, Henry, and we'll see you next time.